The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.
Welcome back to True News. I'm Rick Wiles. When it became evident in 2007 that dark, sinister forces were propelling an unknown Illinois politician to run for the presidency of the United States of America, True News began to investigate and expose the unexplainable, mysterious past of Barack Hussein Obama and his close association over many years with known domestic terrorists, dangerous extremists, radicals, and communists. True News has been in the forefront of the battle to penetrate the news media blackout about Obama's true identity, such as the fact that he has operated for decades with another name, Barry Soetoro. Whatever you call this imposter in the White House, Barry Soetoro, Barack Obama, the Mac Daddy, the presidential pimp, the Chicago street hustler, he is a man without a past. People with money and clout have assisted Obama in covering up his earlier years. My guest today is a young family man, a Christian, who recently stumbled upon startling information about Barack Obama. For privacy and security purposes, I will not reveal his name or location. I will simply refer to him as Al. He is a professional debt collector. A client hired him to locate a debtor and collect the money. In the course of tracking down the debtor, he unexpectedly found Michelle Obama's name. As he pursued the connection, the trail got darker and more sinister. Now, for the record, this man, Al, voted for Barack Obama in 2008. He is not a partisan opponent of Barack Obama. He is an American citizen who is outraged that Obama lied to him and the nation about his true identity. Now, this is the first time this information has been broadcast on radio or TV. You and I are hearing it together for the first time. So let's bring Al onto the program and let him tell us what he discovered about this lying scoundrel in the White House. Al, welcome to True News.
Hello, sir. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Okay, so by profession, you're a debt collector, and you were working on a case. You were trying to get information about an individual who owed money to companies, and somehow Barack Obama came into this story. Tell us how this all started.
Well, yes, sir. Actually, it was on one of the nights that I actually choose, to go ahead and do my skip tracing. Because as part of my business, we have to.
What's skip tracing?
We have to verify the names and addresses of our debtors.
What's skip tracing?
Skip tracing is a means by which we actually ascertain the location, names, addresses, verify Social Security numbers, verify previous addresses, verify friends, relatives, of the individuals that that we're actually skip tracing, for the debt.
Okay. So the first process is to make sure that the person you are zeroing in on is the actual debtor that you want. Yes,
sir. Absolutely.
Okay. So you were working on another case involving another individual, and did this individual live in Washington or Chicago? What's the connection? Chicago. Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. Go ahead and pick up the story.
Sure. And so what I was doing was, obviously, when I couldn't find a relative, new phone number or current phone number, for the individual, then you start backtracing, and so you start, through the software, you start hitting the database that has information for their addresses, their phone numbers, their relatives, the associates of the same address, so forth and so on, and then all of their information, is compiled and then it's pulled. We call it, pulling the data. Mm-hmm. And so when I was pulling this data off of Everett Avenue, there in Chicago, lo and behold, Michelle Obama's name pops up. And so so in the middle of the night, when you're doing these things, you just really don't have time, because you kind of don't want to lose track. So I just kept on going. And
now, did Michelle Obama's name come up as a neighbor of this debtor?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Back in the 90s, back in the 1990s.
All right.
And so anyway, so as I was finished, I clicked back, just out of curiosity, I clicked on her name, and then obviously Barack Obama pulled up. And then his alias pulled up as well, that was attached to his Social Security number.
What do you mean his alias?
Yes, sir. When individuals apply for anything, or sign a form, sign an application, whenever pretty much they use a name, it's associated with that address and that Social Security number.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently at one time, as of 2009, actually as of November 2009, the alias Bounel Harrison J, or Harrison J. Bounel, was actually used with Barack Obama's Social Security number and his address of 5046 South Greenwood Avenue, Chicago, Illinois, 60615.
Harrison J. Bounel?
Bounel, B-O-U-N-E-L.
B-O-N?
B-O-U-N-E-L.
Harrison J. Bounel.
Uh-huh. Or the alias Harrison J. Bounel.
I've never heard this. I thought you were going to say Barry Soetoro.
No, sir. No, sir. Actually, I looked up Barry Soetoro, and I couldn't find it. It doesn't exist anymore.
Okay, and what's the street address again?
5046 South Greenwood Avenue, Chicago, Illinois, 60615. And actually, at the time, I didn't even know what his home address was. So all this to me was like, hitting me, just like a brick wall. I didn't even know.
This is new to me. I have never heard the name Harrison J. Bounel.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That was the irony. That was the first anomaly that I discovered, because it's sharing Barack Obama's Social Security number and his home address and the home phone number as well.
Okay, so the Harrison J. Bounel, it's not just that Harrison J. Bounel is connected to the address where Michelle and Barack Obama live. You could say, okay, somewhere out there is a Harrison J. Bounel who lived there at some time and got his mail at 5046 South Greenwood Avenue, Chicago. But you're saying that the name Harrison J. Bounel shares the same Social Security number as Barack Hussein Obama?
Yes, sir, the exact one. But because what I did was, in order to double-check these things, I have a way that I can backtrack it. And so when I took the Social Security number by itself and entered it into, my search screen, it reverted back and it pulled up Barack H. Obama, Harrison J. Bounel, or Bounel Harrison J. at the same time. It gave me two results for the same social.
Okay, so what happened then?
Well, I'm sitting there and I'm looking at it. I said, well, from my own experience, when you have multiple names with one Social Security number, I look at it, and well, I mean, that's the way that we're taught really, is to look at it as a case of either stolen identity, okay, or someone using his social, or he let somebody use that social. Okay, that's what I was looking at. Actually, I look at it from the standpoint of proving proving the anomaly, not taking it for granted that it existed. I had to prove it. Okay. And so when I clicked on Bounel Harrison J's relatives, Michelle Obama pulled up.
Oh, boy.
Her name pulled up as a relative of Bounel Harrison J. And it showed up with her social, her spouse's, her cell phone numbers, and the address, 5046 South Greenwood, as of October 2010. So when that happens, that tells me one thing, okay, that whoever this Bounel Harrison J person is, or Harrison J Bounel, when they associated themselves with Michelle Obama and the 5046 South Greenwood Avenue address. So I clicked on the home address. I clicked on the 5046 South Greenwood. And when I pulled up that information, it showed me two separate owners of the house, not the Obamas.
Okay, so the house that Obama's living in, or was living in, 5046 South Greenwood, it's not owned by the Obamas. Who owns the house?
A judge by the name of Jane L. Stewart. She's a circuit court judge in Chicago, and she is also an Obama contributor. And a Mr. Harvey Weinberg, who is a partner in the firm that handles Obama's taxes.
How about that? His tax lawyer.
Yes. His accountant, actually.
His tax accountant owns the house.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. As per my national property search. And it is with the accounting firm of Weinberg, Solomon, Howell, and Shane.
Weinberg, Solomon?
Weinberg, Solomon, Howell, and Shane.
And what was the circuit court judge's name? Jane
L. Stewart. And so when I did a backtrack search on her name, I actually keyed her name into my database, and it pulled up her owning 5046 South Greenwood.
And does she spell Stewart, S-T-E-W-A-R-T, or U-A-R-T?
No, sir. It's S-T-U-A-R-T.
Oh, okay. And she shows up at the same house?
Yes, sir, on a different search.
Okay.
On a separate search that I did on her name.
All right. What else did you find?
Well, the house itself has had, let me get to my record real quick. I have to pull this up, and excuse me for that. The house itself has had 6 different PIN numbers associated with the property itself.
What do you mean PIN numbers? What do you mean?
It's a property identification number, and it's a number that is assigned to a piece of property. And as per the Cook County Recorder of Deeds, it's a number that never changes. However, the house itself has had 6 property identification numbers associated, within the past maybe 6 years.
Okay, you're saying as far as Cook County, just say clerk of court or register, that the PIN, the property identification number, never changes even though the owners change?
Absolutely correct, sir. Yes, sir.
But in this case, it changed 6 times?
Yes, sir. It's changed 6 times from 2011 to 025 to the 37 number, which is not registered with Cook County, yet it's registered with the Treasurer's and Assessor's Office.
Well, you would need somebody who's corrupt inside Cook County government to do something like that, wouldn't you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's probably hard to find, a corrupt Cook County government official.
Well, the irony is, it was verified to me by Cook County, and the woman that I was speaking with told me that everything kind of trickles down from the Cook County Recorder of Deeds, because you have to record your deed first before you can even do any assessments on it, because you can't do an assessment on a property that doesn't have a deed or a title to it.
Did the property actually change ownership?
When?
You said that there were 6 different PIN numbers in what did you say, 6 or 7 years?
Yes, sir, in 6 or 7 years, and the answer to that is no.
So the PIN numbers changed, but the owners didn't.
Absolutely no.
Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely.
Well, then that's a deliberate attempt to cover up and confuse any investigators.
Yes, sir. What it is called? It's called a multi-layered real estate finance transaction. That's what it's called, and the irony is that William Maselli, who was obviously was Obama's mentor, and that's one of his specialties as per his law firm.
Well, why would they do that? What would they be trying to hide?
What they're trying to do, remember now, what happened was they created a trust. Okay, well, really the trust already exists. It's the Northern Trust Company, trust number 10209. Okay, and in 2005, let me get to that point where this happened. In 2005, a loan was acquired from Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac for $1.32 million. Okay, And it was acquired by the Northern Trust Company for the Northern Trust Company trust number 10209 for property PIN number 2011115-034, because PIN number 20115-026, when they, in April of 2005, they did a release for $0 to PIN number 034. And this was done by the previous owner, Frederick Wandesberg, and he did it to create PIN number 034. And this PIN number lasted for 8 months, okay, from April of 2005 to December of 2005. It lasted for only 8 months. During this period of time is when the crime actually took place, okay, because the Frederick Wandesberg sold the house to Northern Trust Company, trust number 10209, as the grantor. The grantee is the Northern Trust Company of a mortgage for $1.32 million from Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac.
Unbelievable.
Yes, sir, it is. And now the one thing that I really found to be the pinpoint of the crime itself is that, as recorded June 2nd, 2005, mind you, less than 13 days before the so-called purchase of the property by the Obamas, was that there was no indexed legal description for the property and no indexed property information, as per document 0515339067 for the property. There was no indexes at all, and that what that was an ABI, which is an assignment of beneficial interest, from the Northern Trust Company to the Northern Trust 10209.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, they snuck it in there, and that's when they created PIN number 201115037, which is not recorded at the Cook County Recorder of Deeds, but it is recorded at the Treasurer's Office and at the Assessor's Office. It doesn't exist as per the CCRD.
So once again, we have a deliberate attempt to hide
Yes, sir.
ownership and to confuse anyone on the trail.
Yes, sir. If you don't know what triggers to look for, you're not going to find it. But in my line of work, as a debt collector and as a skip tracer, I know what triggers to look for.
Well, if you didn't, if Barack and Michelle Obama were just ordinary folks, and you were on their trail for debts that they owed, and you came across, these bizarre transactions, what would that say to you?
It's real estate fraud.
Real estate fraud.
Because yes, sir. Because when I examined Barack Obama's income tax for 2009,
mm-hmm.
It's a 58-page document. Okay, on page 3, it lists federally how much he paid for his real estate tax, for his home.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, on page 57 of the same PDF, actually I got that from the White House, from whitehouse.gov. On page 57 is his state of Illinois filing for his real estate taxes, which shows, what did I do with that document? It shows on page 3 that he paid $22,456 on a $1.65 million house. Okay? And it also shows, write the PIN index number for the property listed above. It's blacked out on his Illinois tax return.
It's blacked out?
Okay.
It's been
It's blacked
redacted?
Yes, sir.
Why?
Yes,
Why
sir.
would they? Why was it redacted?
Because they didn't want people knowing what the actual PIN number was to the property, and it was electronically done. Because I blew it up in my computer to 600 times, its normal size, so I could actually see the pixels in it, and that way I could tell that it was actually electronically blacked out because the edges are perfect. So, and on his 2010 income tax returns for the state of Illinois, that page is not present where you're supposed to provide the PIN number for your taxes. So one question that I have is why didn't they do that on their 2010 taxes?
You know, when you're lying, you really have to just keep working hard all the time to cover up all the lies.
Yes, sir. One lie generates another lie.
Mm-hmm.
And when going back to the PIN numbers, when I had spoken to Cook County Recorder of Deeds, they could not explain to me why the property itself had so many PIN numbers. They didn't give me an explanation. They referred me to the treasurer's and the assessor's office.
I am still scratching my head over Harrison J. Bounel. Have you come across this name anyplace else?
No, sir, I have not. It does not exist. The polls that I did for his Social Security number for the 042684425 number came up as no hits.
The Social Security number that you have, is it the same Social Security number that other private investigators have come up with?
It's identical.
This is the Connecticut Social Security number?
Yes, sir. This is the invisible Social Security number. It's the 042684425. And I can say what the number is because, I mean, it's all over the Internet anyway. So it's public knowledge what his Social Security number is. So I'm not at risk for divulging any personal information.
Say it again. Say it slowly.
Sure. 042684425. And I actually triple-checked it on the 12th, just literally 4 days ago, with my master files. And I did a death master file that came up no hits. And I also did a search by, SSN index search, and it came up no hits as well.
Okay. Obama's Social Security number that he's fraudulently using, which belongs to a dead man in Connecticut, is that correct?
No, sir, because I actually researched that myself.
Or do I have that confused, or is it with a teenager? What's the story? Where did that Social Security number come from?
There are so many stories out there. I can't pinpoint the exact.
Okay.
The exact. I call them urban legends. I can't.
Okay. But what we do know, Al, is that Social Security number 042684425 was issued to a Connecticut resident. Is that correct?
As per my records, it doesn't exist because there's no hits to it.
You're saying that the number doesn't even exist?
Yes, sir. As per my polls, because I actually did an SSN search, which is a Social Security number search, and it returned 0 hits.
Okay. Now, do you have access to the same databases that a private investigator would have?
Mine are actually better.
Really?
Because I pull from every database across the country for, to collect on my debts. I mean, I even have pulls from California. California does California criminal, corporation, civil, licenses.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I even do ABC polls.
Okay, but you're saying the Social Security number is 042684425. Is this a fraudulent Social Security number? That's my question.
Yes.
How do you know it's fraudulent?
Because it came up with no hits, but yet he's using it with an alias.
Okay, I'm going to say this real loud, real plain. For the FBI and for federal prosecutors, the U.S. Justice Department, if there is such a thing as justice anymore in the U.S. Justice Department, because it looks like a big joke now, the FBI, the Federal Bureau of Investigations, which apparently doesn't investigate anything anymore, for the U.S. prosecutors, the U.S. attorneys of each state, the U.S. Attorney of Illinois, we're going to say this on the radio. Barack Hussein Obama is a criminal. He is a pimp. He is a street hustler, a Mac daddy. This guy is a fraud. He is a criminal. He is fraudulently using the Social Security number 042684425. He also uses apparently the alias name Harrison J. Bounel in addition to the name Barry Soetoro. Just how many names does this imposter in the White House have? That's my question to the FBI. And I would like the FBI to get off their butt and do what the taxpayers are paying them to do. Investigate and arrest criminals who are breaking federal laws. I'm fed up with the FBI's unwillingness to do its job. Now, we're saying it on the radio. Obama, whatever his name is, Barry Soetoro, is a lying, conniving imposter who needs to be handcuffed and taken to a federal detention center and processed and fingerprinted and indicted by a federal jury. And I'm just wondering how long the wimps in Washington are going to hide and refuse to deal with the criminal who is in the White House. Go ahead, Al.
I just wanted to add that along with the searches for his name, I also came across 58 addresses for him across the country. For
Obama or Harrison J. Bounel?
For Barack and Michelle Obama.
58 addresses?
Yes, sir, in other states. I did a state-by-state search. I literally started in California and worked my way east.
Are these properties that he allegedly owned or rented?
Well, the properties are owned by other people or rented by other people, but yet his name, Barack Obama, with different Social Security numbers are attached to these properties, and I found 3 with Michelle Obama on them.
Wait a minute. Different Social Security numbers?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. There's 2 of them that Barack Obama is using in Illinois, other than his. I mean, it's the one he's using now, the 0422, the current one, and then another one that begins with a 62526. And that belongs to a man and a woman who are using the same Social Security number.
And what state are they in?
Ingleside, Illinois.
Any connection to Obama?
Well, I couldn't, directly connect them to that, to be quite honest and frank with you, because I didn't want to get too involved, more than what I am now, because there's 58 addresses and hundreds of names attached to those addresses.
I mean, what are we going to have to do here? A citizen arrest because the FBI won't do its job?
Well, what we can do, you're going to think I'm crazy.
No.
But what we can do, one of the names attached to these addresses is Tony Tiger and Steve Young, Kamora Simmons, Mary Gross, Bobby Womack, Tyra Banks, Nick Newman, Tom Jones.
What's your suggestion? What do we do?
Well, all these names were attached to these addresses between 2004 and 2009, so I think we can put 2 and 2 together on those.
Mm-hmm.
Especially the ones in Illinois.
How do we force the federal bureaucrats to do their job?
Well, they're not going to.
Well, how do we bring this man to justice?
Someone's going to have the courage in government, to use the information that we have. I mean, my information has actually been verified and also corroborated, by another person who, is a private investigator. And she has 20 years worth of experience in this business.
Is that Susan?
Yes, sir, it is. It's Miss Susan Daniels.
Yes, okay. She's been a guest on the program. All right.
Yes, sir. And initially, and if you know Susan like I do, that she's very thorough in everything she does. I mean, she even sent me evidence so I could corroborate it from my findings, and say about maybe 95% of it is a match.
What were your thoughts about the digital birth certificate they put on the White House website?
I made a better one over the weekend. I'm not going to lie to you. I actually put my name and my signatures on everything.
Uh-huh.
And this is what they did. Okay, they took a background okay, which is a safety background. It's a safety background, that they put on official documents, okay. And actually, whenever I process checks, for my clients, whenever I go to pay them, well, I use that security background, but mine's blue on my checks, and instead of the green one. And I get those in blank sheets of paper, from the companies I get, to process my checks, for when I go to do my payouts. And what they did was they took a document and layered it on top of the blank screen or on top of the blank page. And what they did was they just basically cut and pasted. They just basically cut and pasted, and then they did it transparent. So what you do is you take you cut and paste the background, shrink it to fit. Take that background and move it over whatever you want it to cover. Then on top of that background, you put a text box. Inside of that text box, you key in you type in what you want to type in, but remember you have to use the proper font. And the font that they used was actually, it's called it's a typeset font. It's a carbon font. That's what it is. It's a carbon type font.
Mm-hmm.
It's the font that they used. And I had to blow it up to like 600 to 800% in order so that way I could look at the obvious the obvious pixels. When a computer does it, it does it differently than the way a typewriter does. Because you know how when you type with a manual typewriter like they did in the 60s,
mm-hmm.
You know how sometimes a letter might come up or down, or the spacing might be off, between the letters. The spacing on the letters are identical. Okay,
mm-hmm.
and you can actually see the 90-degree right angles in the S's and the T's and stuff like that. And then you can also see the pixel marks because you know how you make let's say the letter U or an S. Okay,
mm-hmm.
You're going to have a 90-degree angle at the corners, for the S's because that makes the end. And so you're going to get a straight line to make the top, and then to make the curves, it uses separate pixels to form the round edges.
What you're saying, Al, is if Obama were simply a regular citizen and he was under investigation for a criminal act, any good criminal investigator, this would be a slam dunk to put this guy in prison.
He couldn't make bail.
He couldn't make bail. Listen, Obama couldn't get a job as a janitor in a federal building or a defense contractor.
No, it would be impossible. Now, as a community organizer, yeah.
Okay.
That's the people they look for.
Who do you think this guy is? Is he just a common street hustler who's jive talked his way into the White House? Is he part of the Chicago mafia? Is he a foreign plant?
No.
Who is he?
I kind of feel sorry for him, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah.
Look at the way that this man grew up. Okay.
You're saying he doesn't know anything else other than lying?
That's about the extent of it. Look at his mother. Okay. She had her own social philosophy on socialism or
it's called communism.
Right. And his father was the same. I mean, they met in the 60s, and whatever college that they were going to. I'm not even know what college they went to. And so she looked at his father, from the standpoint of, well, he thinks like I do, I'm radical, and let me go and do this, and I'm going to hook up with this guy. I like him. Okay, and obviously, Barack Obama's daddy, he said, "Ooh, she's good looking. I'm gonna hook up with her." That's basically what happened. And then Barack Obama's born. And I've dispelled the rumor that he's not a Cuban or anything like that. He's, he was born by Barack Obama Sr. and his mama. Okay, and but the thing is, though, this is what I think happened. Okay, she went to Africa with him to visit his family. Okay? Old Barack was born over there. They come back here, They go through all the rigmarole and paperwork to, to say that he was born here. Because when she left, remember back in the 60s, whenever you left in the United States for a period of time, when you came back, you started to prove that you're an American.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Sure. Mm-hmm.
You had started to prove that you're an American. So
well,
that was the thing that they were having to do, was prove that she was an American and her son was an American. But everybody knows that his father, Barack Obama Sr., was a British national because at the time, Britain, Kenya was actually, what was it, a colony of Great Britain?
That's right. And World Net Daily has brought out through Dr. Jerome Corsi that, back in the 60s, the U.S. State Department Immigration Office had questions about Barack Obama Sr. They said they didn't know how many wives he had. Harvard wanted him booted out of the country because of his polygamy, because of his lack of financial support, because of the questions about Barack Hussein Obama. So you're saying he's the son of a liar?
Yes. And remember though, that's all he knows. So he's growing up without parents, having to rely on his grandparents, God rest their souls. And so who was his mentor in Hawaii?
A communist.
Right.
Marshall Davis. See, I think you're being too nice on the guy. I think the guy's a communist plant. I think he was put here to preside over the destruction of the constitutional republic. This is why the founding fathers wisely said that a president had to be a natural-born citizen, because the founding fathers actually feared that a foreign king would plant a young person in this country for the purpose of taking over the country. That was not a conspiracy theory to the founding fathers. They feared it. And I believe that's exactly what is taking place with Barack Hussein Obama.
I was scared half to death of what I found. Okay, I'm not going to lie to you. I was scared.
Oh, this is deep. This is deep. This man did not do this by himself. He didn't come up with all these lies by himself. He was
taught.
He was taught, but he's still being assisted. This Weinberg, this law firm. Come on, these people are involved in this cover-up. There are a lot of people who ought to go to prison. I mean, this is a deep criminal conspiracy that's underway, and it's been underway for many years, to conceal the identity of this man who goes by the name Barack Hussein Obama. He is a criminal. He is a fraud. There's
no doubt about it. He's committed real estate fraud and tax fraud. Not to mention the ethics violations that he's committed by having a contributor as a registered owner, or one that shows up. Even if they show up as an owner of the property, that is still an impropriety.
Al, I wish I had another half hour to keep this going. I'm out of time.
We've been talking for 30 minutes. Okay.
Well, we have gone. This is incredible information. I would love to have you back. You and I will stay in touch. I am not going to let go of this guy. I'm going to stay on it until the Mac Daddy is in prison. He needs to go.
Do you want me to send you the addresses that I got for him
all
over the country?
Just hang on the phone, and you and I'll exchange my private cell number with you, email address and things. We're going to stay in touch with you. I'm going to stay on this until this criminal is handcuffed and in prison.
Just be sitting down when you look at what I have, okay? Don't read it standing up. Don't be drinking anything or eating anything, okay?
Okay.
The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.